the sidewalks on Wall Street are littered with people who wanted to short Tesla because it was way overvalued and got singed. And I suspect that anything with Elon's name on it, here the same thing will happen.
Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to the Powers That Be. It's a special episode today because Bill Cohan is here with me. And if you're watching on YouTube, you get to see his gorgeous face. You only get to hear his luscious voice, but now you get to see the whole shebang if you're watching us on the Powers That Be on YouTube. We're going to talk today about the forthcoming SpaceX IPO that could make Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. We're also going to talk about big AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic going public and sneaking their way, possibly, right into your 401k. Is that dangerous? Bill, as discussed, good to see you. Good to be seen by you. Are you a Knicks fan, by the way?
I'm a Celtics fan, but I'm a Knicks appreciator because you can't not appreciate. You know how I feel about college basketball. We don't have to go over that, but I don't feel quite as passionately about professional basketball. But you have to admire what the Knicks have done through the playoffs. It's kind of mind-blowing. And I know they're the underdog here. Maybe they can pull it out. It would do a lot for Jim Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, if they were.
He's a charity case. We need to do more for Jim Dolan. Hopefully they can pull that off.
Yes, he's one of the original Nepo babies. And they haven't won a championship in many, many years. So he's basically hated, so this would help him out.
By the time you're listening to this, dear listeners, that game one will be in the bag. So we're recording this right before game one, but I'm actually excited about an NBA Finals for the first time in a few years. Anyway, let's cut to huge basketball fan Elon Musk, set to become the world's first trillionaire. SpaceX unveiled plans this week for their IPO. They plan to raise $75 billion for this IPO, which is coming soon. It would value the company at roughly $177 trillion. I think they're going to trade at $135 a share. I've been through an IPO with the company. Bill, it was very exciting. We went way up really quickly and then way down. Took a while to come on back. Let's start with, is $135 a share? Does that seem like a fair price point for a single piece of SpaceX stock?
Well, I tend not to think about it in terms of the share price, the individual share price. I think about it more in terms of the overall valuation, which is $1.8 trillion. That's what they are aiming for. I think they're actually aiming to raise something like $86 billion, which would make it the largest IPO in history. It will not be the most valuable company. It would probably be like the fifth most valuable, but I wrote a piece, Peter and Puck, maybe 6 weeks ago, a month ago, where I said that Elon was already a trillionaire on paper, and this will just perfect, in a way, his incredible fortune. The question is this and the other IPOs you alluded to, OpenAI, Anthropic, the AI companies. Of course, SpaceX claims to have a little AI business, which is losing lots of money. XAI, which is part of X, which used to be known as Twitter. Are these three IPOs really just part of the Wall Street hype cycle? Incredible Wall Street hype cycle? Yes, absolutely. First of all these companies, because of the amount of private capital, equity capital available, Peter, a lot of these companies have waited much longer than they normally would to go public. Now they are, gargantuan, $1.8 trillion market cap for SpaceX, if they get that, which they probably will. And it's priced, of course, to trade up because it's the institutional investors that need to make money here. Those are the ultimate clients of the Wall Street banks. So it'll trade up, and then that's when retail will buy in, probably be valued at over $2 trillion at that point. And then the question is, does it keep going up? Does it crash and burn? No pun intended. I think it's, we try not to give investment advice here at Puck, as you know, But my view is that, SpaceX is a very interesting company. The underwriters have done a fabulous job, hyping this thing up. The IPO prospectus has got a black cover, and there's these incredible pictures of rockets taking off. But if you really dig into it, what's clear is that, the rocket business, the space business is an okay business. It's sort of break even to positive EBITDA, maybe of, 400 or 500 million, depending on the time period. The X/XAI, what used to be known as Twitter, with a twist of AI, is a lousy business. I think that lost something like $6 billion last year.
I know that X is a lousy business and Twitter was generally a lousy business, but is XAI is proving to be a lousy business on its own?
Well, it's hard to know. They don't break out X from XAI. The combination of the two, with Grok, whatever that does for them, it basically is losing $6 billion a year. But the jewel here, the business that is really good and worth paying up for, but maybe not 1.8 trillion for, is Starlink. Now that is part of this. Now that is a business that makes a lot of money, and I don't know if it makes enough money to justify a $1.8 trillion market cap. But it's Elon Musk. His performance of Tesla from a financial point of view does not justify a 1.1 or 1.2 trillion dollar market cap for that either. But the sidewalks on Wall Street are littered with people who wanted to short Tesla because it was way overvalued and got singed. And I suspect that anything with Elon's name on it, here the same thing will happen. And I don't know. The guy defies gravity. Obviously, I mean, he's worth $1 trillion. It's incredible, actually.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be surprised, frankly, to see Tesla and SpaceX combined at some point soon. I mean, you might as well roll it all up and hype it away, and just like keep that hype machine going. And that certainly would, get investors, riled up again. The only business, frankly, as I said, that is a real business, and more power to him, is Starlink. It's not only a great business from an income statement perspective. I think it's actually a business that is doing good things for people.
Oh yeah, they were out here during the fires in the Palisades, Ukraine, of course. I mean, Elon has such a political stink on him that people are like, get out of here, Elon, with your Starlink, when the fires were happening in liberal Los Angeles. But I think Newsom actually worked with him. Was like, no, guys, we need this right now.
And he's brought internet access to countries all over the world that otherwise wouldn't have it, and to people all over the world who wouldn't otherwise have it. And I think it's a utility that basically we now take for granted, and it's like a must-have. It's a need to have. It's not an okay to have. So he's bringing that to people faster than anybody else. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Starlink satellites up in the sky on a summer evening. It's mind blowing because there's like these 60 satellites, all look like a string of pearls up in the sky, and you first look at it and you say, "Oh my God, what is that? Is that some sort of interstellar snake in the sky?" And it turns out it's Starlink, and it's amazing and it's breathtaking. And so I give him a lot of credit for that business, and of course I give him a lot of credit for being a private citizen who's putting rockets into space. But I of course I get nervous that space travel is dangerous and risky, and I don't think he's had he hasn't had, thank goodness, any disasters yet, other than those that were planned. But I mean, the ability to recapture and reuse the fuselage is fascinating, and obviously he's an amazing guy, and I think he'd be much better liked if he didn't get messed up in politics, which he did for a little while there. Now he's just focused on becoming really, really rich.
Yeah, definitely got some Doctor Evil vibes going on, especially when you weave in
Yeah.
the space. How much control will he have over this company? I mean, have you looked at the S1? And I assume, given his positioning at the other companies and relative to boards, that he'll just have full control. There won't be like shareholder veto power or board member veto power over him in any way, right?
Yeah, I think he owns like 45% of SpaceX, which is about double what he owns of Tesla, even though, of course, he did get uh, options, a new option grant with a present value of about 100 billion, with a potential value of 1 trillion if Tesla somehow becomes an $8 trillion company, which it could if he combines it with SpaceX. So that is another reason why it might be part of the plan there. In any event, yeah, he controls the action at SpaceX very definitely, as you would expect. But of course, he has, I don't know what kind of role he has there. He's obviously not the CEO. He's got a very talented and qualified CEO. I think, frankly, that's a big part of why SpaceX, everybody, is so excited about SpaceX, because it's not. I mean, he's the CEO of Tesla. It's not him. He's, of course, a key investor. I'm sure he's got a big role in it somehow, somewhere, in terms of the strategy or the vision or getting people to Mars, whatever it is. But the day-to-day execution is a CEO she's doing a fabulous job.
This is going to be a fascinating one, and obviously the biggest in history. Let's talk about OpenAI and Anthropic. Both of them have signaled through, background leaks to the press and then more public announcements that they're going to file an S1. I want to talk about their potential strength on the market compared to SpaceX, in part because SpaceX does have, AI ambitions if you lump in XAI. But their prospectus did say a possibility is putting data centers in space. And I think that kind of separates SpaceX from these other two companies, which is infrastructure. Like you mentioned, they have a proven record, Elon's companies at least. You've got Starlink, you've got Tesla, you've got SpaceX. They build hardware that does things, and they have made a profit at some of those companies at least, whereas the others have not. And so these companies are raising so much money. There's such an AI hype cycle. Do you think they're ready to go to market in it like as a typical company would be? Or is this just like the momentum and the ebullience just pushing them to start cashing in? Or is it just because they need to actually make money because they're not making money? They're not making revenue.
The markets, the equity markets, have been defying gravity. They're at all-time highs pretty much now every other day. And, one thing the underwriters at Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley are very attuned to is how, hyped everybody is in the equity markets, at least for these like big, massive, tech magnificent seven like companies, of which, of course, SpaceX and AI and Anthropic are. I mean, and now Anthropic has filed an S1 quietly, like SpaceX did, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and before making it public. And Anthropic will make its public soon, and OpenAI, I'm sure, will be filing soon too. So they're all part of the major league hype cycle. They're going to have, huge valuations. Anthropic, his valuation is now like 950 billion. OpenAI's is like 850 billion. That's before they go public, and I'm sure, one of the drivers of them going public, of course, are the early investors, the VCs, who want out, who want liquidity, who want a public market valuation, who want to be able to mark their investment to market. And this is the way to do it. And of course, you combine that with the institutional investors who, want to get in at the IPO price or before and watch that stock trade up. They are anxious to cash in on the hype cycle. And then the retail investors are anxious to get a piece of the action, hoping that it will continue to go up, and it may or may not. Usually, retail investors are the ones holding the bag. in the end. And there are so many examples of companies that were hyped up. You yourself referenced one that you're familiar with. They get hyped up, they go public, they trade up maybe for a little while, and then the air comes out of the balloon, and who's holding the bag? It's always the retail investors.
What about retirement accounts? It sounds like fund managers are itching to get these coveted AI companies into people's 401ks. Does that seem
they've waived all of the time periods of waiting and requirements to get these into 401ks and allow fund managers to buy these stocks for their clients' 401ks and their retirement accounts and their pensions. Again, to me, it's too much volatility, too much hype, too much overvaluation already. They are hugely overvalued. Let's face it, they are hugely overvalued by any reasonable measure, ratio to earnings or to EBITDA or to revenue or to anything. And so, but of course, people are hyped up. They're excited. We're in that kind of market where it's, risk on. Everybody's throwing caution to the wind. People have forgotten that markets also go down, that overhyped stocks also go down. Some go to zero. Enron went to zero. WorldCom went to zero. Look, there's no one better than Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley at hyping up a big, prominent IPO that needs to raise a lot of money. David Solomon said yesterday, at the Economic Club of New York, there's plenty of money out there. There's more than enough money out there for these IPOs. There's more than enough interest out there to fund these IPOs, to raise this $86 billion that SpaceX wants to raise. So they're going to get the deals done. The fees are going to be ginormous for these investment banks. That's why, Goldman stock is over $1,000 now. It's traded up, from $300 or $400 not that long ago. So in anticipation of huge investment banking fees and revenues due to this sort of risk-off environment that we're in. And, Trump's regulators are basically standing down everywhere and everything, except making it easier for companies to go public. And then once they are public, to report less of what they're doing. I guarantee you there will be a comeuppance about all this at some point, but as there always is. But, we're not there yet. No one, Peter, rings a bell at the top of the market.
Wise man, Bill. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for walking me through these IPOs. This is not investment advice. What a great episode as always. See you soon, man.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks so much for listening to The Powers That Be, the official podcast of Puck in partnership with Odyssey. I'm Peter Hamby, and I'd like to thank our show's executive producers, Puck co-founder John Kelly, executive editor Ben Landy, and director of editorial operations Gabi Grossman. On the Odyssey side, thanks to Bob Tabador and Chris Basil for their recording, editing, mixing, and mastering, and to executive producers Asha Saluja and Leah Reese-Dennis.